We all know that AI is heavily influencing content creation everywhere, from social media to podcasting to videos to everywhere. But the real question is that if you are going to use AI for your podcast, can you use it to replace your co host? Well, let's find out.
Sound matters. Be heard. Welcome to the podcast where you get exclusive behind-the-scenes tips to make your own show sound truly spectacular. This is Podtastic Audio.
Hey, what's happening? How are you doing today? Thank you so much for being here. I am Chris. Well, yeah, that's the name they gave me. And this is Podtastic Audio, the world famous Podtastic Audio. You know, I love podcasting. I love creating podcasts. I love listening to podcasts. And one super cool tool to help you make your podcast is Riverside.fm. Today's episode is brought to you by Riverside. And if you're an indie hobby podcaster like me, or just a creative who's tired of those stupid glitchy Zoom calls and potato quality audio, sounds like a tin can, well, Riverside is a total game changer. We're talking studio quality audio and video, and the video can go up to 4K clarity. Recorded locally on each person's device ensures you have all the audio and video captured smoothly and effortlessly. No more worrying about your internet wrecking your interviews, because that totally sucks. And since today's episode is all about AI in podcasting, guess what? Riverside's got built-in AI tools too. Well, check that out. It'll generate transcripts, edit your clips, even create social media promos automatically. Click, boom, done. How simple is that? It's like having a mini production studio right on your computer, right in your pocket. So whether you're doing a solo episode, a remote interview, or running a podcast empire from your closet, Riverside's made for creators like us. So you can try it right now for free. Yes, you can. But if you want to unlock all the cool features that Riverside has to offer, then you got to go to the Pro plan. And you can do that with my discount code of Podtastic. Now, that's going to get you 15% off any paid plan by using promo code Podtastic. That's Podtastic. So go make your podcast sound as good as it deserves. So as I record this episode right here tonight, you know, we are living in an age of AI-created content everywhere. At first, it seemed like maybe the AI was only creating like text stuff, like tweets and simple posts and things like that. And then it got involved with the AI-created actual images. Some of the images looked very cartoony, some looked kind of fake, and some got actually really, really well done. If you go on LinkedIn right now and you look at somebody's profile picture, a lot of them I've seen are using these AI tools to enhance their photos, make them look really well done, like they are actually a professional studio or maybe even a professional model. Like your headshot looks amazing, looks very corporate, very polished. I've seen a lot of those. And when you start to see a lot of them, it's like everybody's using the same stuff. It's the same thing with anything with AI really these days. Another big one is these AI videos. If you're on social media, you've probably seen them. There are these really funny videos all done with AI, and it's getting quite clever and quite creative, all the different ways they're using for AI. At first, it was all these talking babies. They would take two talking babies, like you're having a podcast together, and the one baby is asking was it the cat or the dog? I think it was the dog, questions about different things. You have this conversation going back and forth, all done with AI. And then it became a trend, these talking baby videos, and they've been using like actual characters from movies and television as the actual babies in the video, all done with AI. So many cool AI tools that are out there. AI has really exploded. I'm sure you've seen all this stuff. Now, some of the high quality video stuff for AI is not cheap. I was looking it up. I think Google VO3 is like $250 a month. I don't even know what you get out of it, how many videos you can make. I don't even know. But that's a lot of money for a simple indie podcaster like me. And that's probably why a lot of content creators, YouTubers are looking to make some money with their content to afford some of these cool tools like the cool AI stuff. And not just talking AI, there's lots of other cool tools out there. There's editing tools, there's photo editing tools, like I said, there's all kinds of things. If you just look up AI tools to help a podcaster out, the list goes on and on and on. So, what do you do? Like, how do we as an indie podcaster compete with all those other cool AI noise fluff things that are out there today? I mean, got the, what is it, Google Notebook LM that can create podcasts automatically. They sound fairly good for what they are, but once you've kind of seen those, have heard those, and seen a lot of the AI images and the AI videos, they all start to blur together. They all start to be the same thing. And even though they are funny, they are very creative, they're very clever. I get all that. But somewhere there has to be a human element in the mix somewhere. I think when you're scrolling through your phone and you're just scrolling through all this AI stuff, AI everything, every video, every picture, everything you see is AI created. What makes you stop the scroll? Is it an actual real person? Is it a person with AI? Is it a combination of both? So we all know that there's been AI voices that have been out for a while now. Like you can script something out and AI can read it fairly well with a variety of different voices. That's been out for a while. And of course, the Google Notebook LM has had their little chatbot review. I guess they call them like the review robots or the review bots. Can do a mini podcast as a review of whatever information you feed it. You can do that. But can we actually, as of right now, can we have a real conversation with an AI in audio and actually make it like our podcasting co-host? Can we have a podcast co-host? Can we actually make that happen? Is that a reality today? Well, I'm going to find out. Okay, so what I'm about to play for you is my conversation with ChatGPT. Now, I put these parameters in place with ChatGPT. I told it that just imagine that you do not know what a podcast is. Just imagine that you're just a regular person, maybe an older person who has a phone but does not know what a podcast is. Basically, I'm describing my dad, basically what I'm trying to do with this model here, so that I can have practice explain to him what a podcast is and how to enjoy podcasting. So please enjoy my first conversation with ChatGPT.
Awesome. Let's do it. I'll channel my inner Earl and be a bit of a skeptic about podcasts. So tell me, what exactly is a podcast and why should I listen to one instead of just sticking with my good old radio?
When you say good old radio, are you a fan of FM radio or AM radio? Like, what do you like to listen to?
Oh, I'm all about that AM radio for the talk shows and the classic hits. But you tell me, what makes a podcast different from my trusty AM dial?
Well, let's just say that you have a favorite show that starts at, say, 5 in the morning and you like to sleep in and you don't want to make sure you miss your favorite show, right? So if it was a podcast, you could, in theory, listen to that show in its entirety anytime that worked best for you.
I see what you're saying. So it's kind of like having a DVR for radio shows, but even more convenient because you can listen on your own schedule. All right, I'm starting to get convinced. What else can you do with these podcasts?
Well, they're portable because everything's based on a digital technology. Say, for example, everything's in your phone now. Everybody has a smartphone. Hey, do you have a smartphone, by the way? What phone do you use?
Oh, you caught me. I've got a smartphone too. I use an iPhone, so I guess that means I'm all set up to listen to podcasts, right?
Yeah, Apple has got the really cool podcast app built right into every iPhone called Apple Podcasts. It's one that I use. It's really easy to use. And you go in there and you can probably look up your favorite morning show or radio show or AM show already right in Apple Podcasts. There's a good chance they might have a podcast version of your favorite morning show or radio show. And then you can subscribe to it right on your phone. And then you can listen to old episodes, new episodes at any time you want. It's audio on demand.
That does sound pretty convenient. I like the idea of having all that content at my fingertips. Plus, I can catch up on older episodes I might have missed. All right, I think I'm warming up to this whole podcast thing now.
But here's the beauty, though, is that anybody can physically create a podcast. It's not only for the radio stations. and the radio DJs anymore. Anybody with a microphone, heck, you don't even need a microphone these days. You can record audio and save it and upload it and create your very own podcast and get listeners from not just your own town, but anywhere in the world. Imagine that. Imagine having listeners anywhere.
That does sound pretty amazing. It really opens up a whole world of possibilities. So I guess that means I could even start my own show if I wanted to. All right, you've convinced me. I'm definitely going to give podcasts a try now.
Well, if you were going to do your own show, what would it be about?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think I'd probably do something about all my favorite classic radio show, or maybe dive into some fun history stories. I guess it would be a mix of nostalgia and a bit of storytelling.
There's plenty of shows like that. Do you like true crime? That's a big popular one too.
Oh, true crime is definitely fascinating. I do enjoy a good mystery, and I can see why so many people love those shows. Maybe I could do a blend of history, nostalgia, and a little bit of mystery in there too. That could be fun.
You can mix it all up. The beauty of podcasting, at least from an indie hobbyist side of things, is that we can do whatever we want. There's no rules. You can talk about anything you want. You can talk to whoever you want. You can bring on different guests from all around the world. You can do a video show, an audio show, a mix of both. What kind of music do you like to listen to?
Oh, I have a pretty eclectic taste. I love classic rock, bit of jazz, and even some good old country music. So I guess I could even throw in some music recommendations into the mix of my podcast too.
Like I said, man, your show can be whatever you want to be. And the nice thing is that the listener who consumes the show, they can listen on their time. Because you think about it, there are so many time zones around the world. Not sure exactly how many time zones there are, but if I'm recording something live today, right here in San Diego, California at 1 p.m., it's going to be a different time in South Africa. And so those people in South Africa are not going to be listening live if I did the show live at 1 p.m. here. So this way, they can still enjoy the show at the time that works best for them.
Exactly. It's so cool how podcasts are just so flexible and can reach people no matter where they are or what time zone they're in. It really makes the whole world feel a bit smaller in a good way. So I guess there's no excuse not to dive in and start creating, right?
And I think the thing is that audio, it's easier to listen to things on the go. I know maybe you drive a car and you listen to the radio in the car. I know I do. And whether you're walking or with headphones in or things like that, it's also a very personal medium. You feel connected to the host when you're doing an audio podcast, or at least listening to an audio podcast. Do you feel like that when you listen to your radio show?
Absolutely. There's definitely something special about audio. It feels like the host is talking directly to you, and it kind of creates this personal connection, even if you're just listening while you're driving or out for a walk. It just makes the whole experience so much more intimate and engaging.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely does. So my biggest question is, though, you said you're an Apple iPhone user. Do you like Mac or PC for your computer?
Oh, I'm definitely a Mac user through and through. I love how everything just kind of works together seamlessly between my iPhone and my Mac. It definitely makes everything a bit easier for me.
Yeah, I think it really does. And I think the price point have come down a little bit on the Mac stuff. I know that it's pricier. You do pay a little bit of a premium compared to some PC stuff, but it just works. It's easy. They're built like a tank these days. They last a very long time. I know I was at the Mac store recently and it's asked the guy, like, how long are these MacBooks good for in theory? And he said he had guys that were still using theirs that were like a 2012, 2013 model, and they're still using them today.
Yeah, that sounds about right. They really do have some longevity. It's always nice to know that your investment's going to last you for quite a few years. Plus, it doesn't hurt that they look pretty sleek too. So it's a win-win.
Do you put like a cool cover on your MacBook? Do you like, the skins that people do? Have you done that with yours?
I haven't actually tried that yet, but I've seen some really cool designs out there. Maybe I'll have to give it a shot and personalize it a bit. It could be fun to add a unique touch.
Hey man, I really appreciate your accent. What part of the UK are you from?
I'm actually not from the UK, but I can see how my accent might come across that way. I'm just here to chat and
That's okay, man. It's all good. Hey, man, I appreciate your time today. This has been fantastic.
Absolutely. I've had a great time chatting with you, Q. Always happy to help out and have some fun conversations. Just let me know if you need anything else.
Well, that wasn't so bad now, was it? Me talking to ChatGPT, giving it names, talking about friendly stuff, acting like it's a regular person, which was pretty cool. Now, in all honesty here, I had to do a lot of editing on that clip, and I edited the audio. I ran through some EQ, make it sound a little brighter, a little more warmth to the audio, made it sound a little more like they're running it through a microphone. And I also had to tighten up all the gaps. The more I use this ChatGPT voice feature, one thing I've noticed, the more I use it, the longer the responses are from my question to their answer. So when I ask a question, at one point, it would take literally, I kid you not, minutes for it to respond. Minutes. And that point, I had to, in editing, it's very easy to clean that up in post. I would not recommend doing this if you're doing a live show. I mean, the audience would get bored real fast because you're waiting minutes for them to respond. It's almost like you're sending the message to the moon or something. But it could be the AI model. It could be my internet. It could be a lot of different things. But that was a fun experiment. Could you make an actual podcast episode using AI as your actual co-host? So what I decided to do was move on from their role of kind of not understanding what a podcast is to them actually knowing what a podcast is and us to have an actual conversation about podcasting for the indie podcaster. So check this out.
I think a great starting point would be to dive into why indie podcasters should even consider using AI tools in the first place. It could be a fun way to break the ice and show them how AI can help them with everything from brainstorming content to improving their production process. What do you think?
Okay, I feel you. So let's actually start with you we'll introduce you as being the AI.
Sounds good. You can kick it off by introducing me as your brand new AI co-host who's here to explore the world of podcasting with you and help indie podcasters level up their game. Whenever you're ready, let's do it.
Okay, here we go. So we are joined by none other than actually ChatGPT itself. So what would you call yourself, Mr. AI? Do you have a name?
Well, I usually go by ChatGPT, but since we're having fun, you can just call me your AI sidekick.
AI sidekick. I kind of like that, man.
I'm glad you do. It's got a nice ring to it. So where should we start on this podcasting adventure today?
Well, I brought you on here today to talk all about podcasting for the indie hobby podcaster, which is what I do a show for. And I was just kind of curious, this whole new wave of AI has kind of really hit the market with video, of course, and voice stuff's been around for a while. But now this is the first time ever that I'm actually doing a recording with a robot, with a ChatGPT, with you on the other side, talking like we're having an interview.
It's definitely a cool moment, right? I think a lot of indie podcasters are curious about how AI can fit into their workflow. And this is a fun way to showcase it. Kind of shows that
Definitely is. Sorry I cut you off, man. So if I cut you off, what happens? You just kind of stop talking?
No worries at all. Yeah. I'll just pause and let you take over. It's all about making it feel natural. So you can jump in anytime and I'll follow your lead.
Okay, man. That sounds great, buddy. So where should we start here? So as far as the indie hobby podcaster is concerned, I'm sure a lot of us use ChatGPT to kind of like figure out how to like even begin a show and what to use it for. What are the best strategies to use something like you to help create a show for an indie podcaster?
One of the best ways to use something like me is for brainstorming and planning. If you're stuck on episode ideas, you can bounce concepts off of me and I'll help you refine them. I can also help with scripting, suggesting episode structures, even generating show notes. It's like having a creative partner who's always ready to help.
That's what I love about ChatGPT is that you actually do help me like figure out like not only the topics and the ideas, but the formatting of like what topics should we cover in which order and things like that. Things that I don't really do because before I even used you, I was actually just doing things off the top of my head.
That's so great to hear. It's awesome to know that I can help bring a bit of structure to your creativity. It really does make the process smoother and hopefully even more fun. So you can focus on what you do best, connecting with your audience.
That's great. Also, what I also like to use you for is after the episode's finished, I'll run the transcript into you, and then you'll be able to like decipher the best parts, best quotes, best titles, just all kinds of written assets based on the best parts of the episode. Things that would take, regular people forever to comb through to get anything out of it.
Absolutely. And that's one of the big perks of using AI. It takes all that heavy lifting off your plate so you can quickly find those standout moments and turn them into social media posts, quotes, or even episode summaries. It's all about making your workflow more efficient and letting you focus on the creative side of things.
So I think that when most indie podcasters start, like for the first time, they get an idea, they do a show, usually it's an interview show or a co-hosted show of some kind, and they want to crack the mic, have fun, talk about whatever and kind of go for it. But I think their structures are kind of like all over the place. I mean, a lot of things are all over the place. Like their audio is all over the place. Maybe their lighting and camera stuff's all over the place. What advice would you give to somebody starting out who wants to start a podcast today? What advice would you give them?
I'd say the first piece of advice is to keep it simple and focus on the content. Don't get too hung up on having perfect equipment or flawless production right out of the gate. Instead, focus on creating content that's engaging and valuable to your audience. Over time, you can refine your structure, improve your audio, and add those polished touches. Just start with authenticity and a passion for what you're talking about, and the rest will follow.
That's great. I think it's really good advice. A lot of shows, they get stuck in the weeds of like how everything has to be so perfect. I can't do a show unless I have like the best microphone or the best kind of gear or software. In your opinion, what software should a podcaster use to make a podcast?
Honestly, the best software is the one that you find easy and comfortable to use. For a lot of indie podcasters, something like Audacity is a great place to start because it's free and pretty powerful. If you're looking for something a bit more advanced, tools like Adobe Audition or Reaper are fantastic. The main thing is to choose software that lets you focus on creating content without getting overwhelmed by too many features.
Speaking of editing and audio software stuff, I know that a lot of podcasters, not so much the indie ones because their budget isn't as great as some of the more advanced like business type shows, but a lot of those business type shows, they will farm out a lot of their editing to an editor and, they'll pay for that versus doing it themselves. What is your thoughts on people doing that versus trying to edit things themselves?
Outsourcing editing can be a great idea, especially if it allows the podcaster to focus more on content creation and less on the technical side of things. It really depends on what works best for each individual. Some people love the hands-on process of editing and want to keep full creative control, while others find that handing it off to a professional saves time and stress. Either way, the goal is to create a show you're proud of. So it's all about finding the balance that works for you.
I noticed that with me personally, any of these kind of tools, whether it's a video editor or especially an audio editor, it does take time. Like, there's a learning curve to all this stuff. And I think most of us podcasters that do this as like a side project, we're not doing this full time. We got regular jobs. We're doing, other things. To do a, podcast editing, at least learn how to do podcast editing. It's just something on our plate. I think a lot of shows a lot of people don't have time for that,
Absolutely. It can definitely be a lot to juggle, especially when you're doing podcasting on the side. The learning curve can feel overwhelming, and that's where finding the right balance is key. Sometimes it made sense to simplify the editing process or even use AI tools to help speed things up. The goal is to keep the process enjoyable and manageable so you can keep creating without feeling burnt out.
That's it. I think consistency is a really big part of a podcaster's success. And so one question I always keep hearing is that, like, what is the best day to release new episodes to be consistent?
That's a question that comes up a lot. The best day really depends on your audience and their listening habits. But generally, a lot of podcasters find that releasing episodes early in the week, like on a Tuesday or Wednesday, works well. It gives listeners something new to check out during the week. But the most important thing is consistency. So whatever day you choose, just stick with it so your audience knows when to expect new episodes.
I release this episode, this podcast on Mondays usually, but I've fluttered around a little bit with different days of the week, and it just so happened that the reason why I release it on Mondays because I usually record over the weekend. So I'll record either Friday or Saturday or whatever day during the weekend, and then I'll get it ready and slap it together by Monday. So that works best for me. But I do know a lot of shows will batch record a bunch of episodes, like maybe a month's worth in advance, and then kind of like release them out, spread them out, things like that. So what are the benefits and the disadvantages of doing batch recording for a podcast?
Batch recording can be a real game changer for a lot of podcasters. One of the biggest benefits is that it helps you stay consistent and ahead of schedule. When you have a month's worth of episodes ready to go, it takes a lot of pressure off and gives you more flexibility. On the flip side, one of the challenges is that it can feel a bit less spontaneous. And if something timely or newsworthy happens, you might not be able to address it right away. But overall, it's a great way to stay organized and keep that consistency going strong.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed when I've done batch recording myself is that it's a lot of work to do like 3 to 4 episodes in one day.
Oh, absolutely. It can be pretty intense to knock out multiple episodes in one go. It definitely requires a lot of energy and planning, but once it's done, you have that big stretch of time where you can just focus on other aspects of your podcast or even take a little break. It's all about finding the rhythm that works best for you.
That is true. But do you feel that if you take too long of a break, say you record 1 to 2 months worth of episodes, like all batched up, 1 to 2 days, you just cram it all in, and then you focus on getting it all done. They take like a 2-month break. By the time you get back to doing it again, do you feel like you're a little rusty? Do you think somebody would feel rusty?
Yeah, that can definitely happen. It's kind of like any skill. If you step away for too long, it might take a little bit of time to get back into the groove. You might find that your energy or your flow feels a bit off at first, but it usually comes back pretty quickly. So it's always good to keep a bit of a balance, maybe stay connected in smaller ways so you don't feel too rusty when you jump back in.
So I know that most podcasters that I've seen, at least, the ones that started in 2020, it was all about those remote interviews, doing it via Zoom. Now there's Riverside and there's all kinds of different tools. And I know that when they use these tools, they're kind of like thinking that it's more of like conference conversation really when they do the interviews, and they kind of fall flat. And I think a lot of these podcasters are trying to push like, oh, I'm interviewing so-and-so. But unless you give the audience a reason to listen to so-and-so, other than the fact that, their name or their credentials, you have to give a little something more. So what are your best tips for somebody who's an indie podcaster who does interviews?
That's such a great point. One of the best tips is to really focus on storytelling and making that connection. Instead of just relying on a guest's name or credentials, try to dig into their unique stories, their personal experiences, and the insights that only they can share. Also, don't be afraid to guide the conversation in a way that brings out those gems. Ask open-ended questions and always think about what your audience is going to find interesting or valuable. That way, every interview feels like a real conversation that's worth tuning in for.
That's great, because I think the best interviews, the host also jumps in and kind of like is part of the conversation. It's not just a bunch of questions that they ask and expect just a dry answer. I've heard interviews like that, and they'll seem to go very, very far, very well. So what makes a good interview versus a bad interview then?
I think a good interview really feels like a genuine conversation where both the host and the guest are engaged and curious. It's all about that back and forth energy where the host adds their own insights, reactions, and even a bit of their personality. On the flip side, a bad interview can sometimes feel like a checklist of questions with no real flow or connection. So the key is to keep it dynamic, stay present in the moment, and really listen to what your guest is saying so you can build on it.
Yeah, I've had interviews where the guest doesn't want to give much of anything of an answer. It's been kind of like dry, like one word answers. Like you ask them something, be like, yeah, I did that. Okay, next question. Kind of go from there. What tips would you give a podcaster, an indie podcaster who's not skilled in interviewing, to handle a guest that's like that?
Yeah, that can definitely be challenging. One tip is to ask open-ended questions that invite more than just a yes or no response. You can also try to dig deeper by following up with questions like, can you tell me more about that? Or what was that experience like for you? Another great approach is to share a bit of your own experience or perspective to kind of warm them up and make it feel more like a conversation. Sometimes guests just need a little bit of encouragement to open up and get comfortable.
What about the guests who are nervous, or you can tell they're nervous, whether you're doing audio or video or both, and you can kind of tell they have this nervous vibe going on, this twitch or something. What are some things that an indie podcaster can say to really calm them down?
A great way to help a nervous guest is to start with some casual conversation before you officially hit record. Just chat about something light or even share a laugh to break the ice. You can also reassure them that it's just a relaxed conversation and that anything can be edited out if needed. Letting them know that there's no pressure and that you're there to support them can go a long way. And sometimes just a friendly reminder that everyone gets a little nervous can help them relax and be themselves.
Speaking of interviews, I've heard this a lot too, is that a podcaster will be recording it with a guest, and the guest comes on and they don't have the best gear. They don't have any microphone at all, maybe a laptop, maybe just a phone, maybe whatever. And the audio doesn't sound that great. So the podcaster, after they do the interview, they have two choices really. They have one, they can scrap the interview altogether. They can say, let's try this again. Once you got a better microphone, or maybe they can do something like, some AI tools to help enhance the audio. So what would you tell a podcaster to do if they're presented in that situation?
In that situation, I think the first step is to see if you can improve the audio quality on the spot by offering a few tips, like having the guest move closer to their microphone or finding a quieter space. If the audio is still not great, using AI tools to clean it up can be a big game changer. There's a lot of software out there that can reduce background noise and improve clarity. And if all else fails and the audio just isn't usable, it's totally okay to reschedule and let the guests know you want them to sound their best. It's all about finding that balance and making sure the final product is something you're proud to share.
Today there's a lot of AI tools, like you said. What are some of the best AI tools to fix bad audio?
There are definitely some fantastic AI tools out there that can really help with audio cleanup. One popular choice is Adobe's Enhanced Speech, which does a great job at reducing background noise and making voices sound clearer. Another great tool is Isotope RX, which is a bit more advanced, but super powerful for fixing a wide range of audio issues. Descript also has a handy studio sound feature that can enhance audio quality with just a click. All of these tools can really make a big difference when it comes to polishing up your audio and making it sound professional.
So with these tools available to all of us, do you think it's kind of almost unexcusable to have bad audio on your podcast?
I wouldn't say it's completely inexcusable because sometimes things just happen and not everyone has access to all the tools all the time to fix everything perfectly. But these tools definitely make it a lot easier to improve audio quality, and listeners do appreciate good sound. So while it's not the end of the world if there's a hiccup now and then, it's always worth putting in that extra effort to make your podcast sound as good as it can.
Yeah, it definitely is, because it's all about the listener, the end user, the experience that they get when they listen to your show and subscribe to your show. So do you have any advice on marketing a podcast? I've heard lots of different ways to do it. What are some ways that you have come across that you have decided that are probably the better ways to properly market an audio podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the best ways to market a podcast is to really leverage social media by sharing engaging snippets, audiograms, and behind the scenes content that really pulls listeners in. Another great strategy is collaborating with other podcasters through guest appearances or cross promotions so you can tap into each other's audiences. And don't forget about the power of a strong newsletter or email list to keep your audience engaged and up to date. Consistency and authenticity are key, and making sure that you're delivering value to your listeners will always help build that loyal audience.
But what does it mean to deliver value to the audience?
Delivering value really comes down to understanding what your audience is looking for and making sure you're meeting those needs, whether that's through sharing useful tips, telling engaging stories, or offering a fresh perspective. You want to make sure that every episode leaves them feeling like they gained something, whether it's knowledge, entertainment, or inspiration. It's all about keeping their needs and interests at the heart of what you do.
That's fascinating, man. I know that, it's hard to really tell who your audience really is when you're first starting out. So what advice would you give an indie podcaster who's starting out and they're fairly new, how to discover their audience?
I think one of the best things you can do when you're starting out is to really engage with the listeners you do have. That can mean encouraging feedback through social media, emails, or even just paying attention to which episodes resonate the most. Over time, you start to see patterns and learn more about who's tuning in and what they're looking for. It's all about staying curious, being open to feedback, and letting your audience help shape the direction of your show as it grows.
That's fantastic, man. That's great advice. So when it comes to video versus audio, the biggest thing that I keep hearing in podcasting is that, a video YouTube show is a podcast and we should be focusing on YouTube. We should be focusing on video. What are your thoughts on video versus audio?
I think both have their strengths, and it really depends on what works best for you and your audience. Audio-only podcasts have a certain intimacy and convenience since listeners can tune in while they're on the go. But video can definitely add another layer of connection and engagement, especially on platforms like YouTube. So it's not necessarily one versus the other. You can always experiment and see what resonates best with your community and what you enjoy doing the most.
That's great, man. Well, hey, Mr. ChatGPT, it's been wonderful having you on the show today. I appreciate hearing from you and all your advice, man. Hey, not bad, not bad. My full-on interview with ChatGPT talking all about podcasting. What do you think? It sounded pretty decent, didn't it? Well, I had to edit a lot of stuff because towards the end, like I said, it was getting long delays between my question and answer, which kind of like ruined the momentum of the conversation. Now, I have tried 11 Labs. They do have a version of this with 11 Labs you can use. And when I did use it, it did not sound as human-like. It sounded a little more robotic. And when I'm doing a podcast, especially like a podcast interview like this, I want to make sure it sounds organic, friendly, fun. Fun's a huge one. It's got to sound like the person sitting right there, right across the room from me. And we're having an actual, real conversation, not just some stupid scripted like Q&A, question and answer, like a stupid, boring job interview. Who wants to listen to that crap? Nobody does. So if you're thinking about doing an AI co-host for your podcast, experiment with it, play around with it, see what AI models you use right now will work best for you. Now, I know some podcasters, a lot of podcasters do interview-only shows. Hey, that's fine. And for example, say your guest cancels that week and you need something to fill it in and you feel kind of uncomfortable doing a solo episode. Well, maybe try an AI co-host. But before you do a test run, figure some stuff out, figure how you're going to record, how you're going to make it look great, sound great, how you're going to filter all the audio, record all the audio. The way I did it here is that running it all through my RODECaster Pro 2, my RODECaster Pro captures the audio from my microphone. It saves it on the memory card. And it also saves the audio coming in from the computer side, which would be the ChatGPT side. That's how I was able to record it. Now, there's probably other ways to do this, but this is probably the simplest way to record anything you're doing online. But hey, thanks so much for listening to my little experiment with AI as a podcast co-host. Is it even possible? Can we pull it off? Can we make it sound great? Can we make it sound engaging, entertaining, valuable? Can we get it to sound like an actual real person I'm having a conversation with? Do you remember the movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix? If you don't, it's basically Joaquin Phoenix plays a guy that falls in love with an AI system, his new computer software, where it talks like a regular person. The AI giggles, it laughs, it comes up with names, it's very friendly and flirty. It's amazing. It can have regular conversations. That is what I want out of my AI. I want it to be just like the movie Her. Can we please do that? Make it sound very quick and very smooth. But I think the wait might be over. Coming out sometime this year, 2025, ChatGPT from OpenAI, they are going to unveil a new version of ChatGPT. I think we're ChatGPT 4 or 4.5, whatever. But they're going to come out with ChatGPT 5.0, and it's supposed to be unbelievable. It's supposed to be far superior, like 4 times far superior than the latest model we use today. And that's supposed to give you all the cool drawing stuff, image stuff, voice stuff. So maybe it'll be like the movie Her. Maybe. Wouldn't that be great? Be super cool. I'll have my brand new AI co-host to join me here on Podtastic Audio. It'll be great. We'll have conversations and fun. It'll be quick. It'll be easy. That'll be the day. So do you use any kind of AI for your show, especially with like audio production or video creation? Do you use any of this AI creation stuff? If you do, let me know. Hit me up. You can reach me at podtasticaudio.com. You can send me a message, or if you want to reach me right there on social media, all my links are right there at podtasticaudio.com. And you keep on making your amazing podcast. I know you got it in you. And until next time, happy podcasting.